All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Reflections on the 12 Steps. Just a friendly announcement. This is not an AA meeting. This is just one member's view on the exact nature of the wrong, as described on page 64 of the Big Book, and the solutions contained within. This is not an all-share meeting, though shares there will be, but actually a question and answer meeting with Paul. I chose a reading from the Big Book, last page of the introductory part, so page 164. Middle of the page. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. That's it.
Oh, great. Thank you. Well, this is what we're doing, right? We're meeting each other on this road to destiny. I'm going to read it again, just from a different view. See, the main idea of this platform today, to me, is the exact nature of the wrong and meaning the wrong that has defeated us, and its nature is foreign to us. Yeah. Now, I'll quickly summarize what happened, but it was a process, but it happened very quickly in one night. So I had a commitment, which was a rather long one, to lead a fourth step workshop in San Francisco at a famous place called the Dry Dock. So I was in that chapter, How It Works, all the time, because every Monday night we had a talk there. And to go over how to do the fourth step, and then all that stuff to see how rolling things. And it's page 64, once again, I was reading, and self, being convinced, which is a condition that's very important in recovery, especially in the beginning of it. Being convinced is sort of like the first step, and being convinced goes a lot in the first few chapters of the book. So being convinced is the condition that I am after reviewing what it was like when I was out there. Now that I'm not out there, let's say. All right, so being convinced self. This, I bet you the word self is in the first 164 pages, probably the most of any other word. Literally, they constantly are speaking about it and directing us to recognize things about it. Yeah. So one recognition is we've been defeated by it. So being convinced self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. It is what will defeat us. Yes. And if you're convinced of this, we're going to look at its, meaning self's, common manifestations. And then the first paragraph after that is resentment. So resentment is seen as a manifestation of self in one's life. Why do we keep calling it ours? This is one of the big stubbornness of things to me. It's very clearly because a lot of people are into this book. Well, right in the book, it tells us something that isn't us has defeated us through its manifestations. Yeah. And I would say, what's going to allow that defeat to continue if you keep calling its manifestations yours? It just doesn't make sense. And I've seen the life of a resentment, and I've seen the life of my resentment. My resentment can live on for 50, 60 years. Yeah. A resentment usually is like a thunderbolt or something. If you don't act out, it passes usually, even on the highway. You know, you want that guy's been tailing you, and then you want to get behind him. but you know better. You don't have the luxury to do that shit because something bad's probably going to occur. So you learn over the years not to act out on this stuff, and you have the power that allows you not to act out on it, which is delivered to us through this program, but it's from the higher power. Yeah. So to me, this is the point I look at everything else from now. So when it says here, our book is meant to be suggestive only, they used to always joke about, yeah, if you were jumping out of the airplane, they would suggest you pull the ripcord of the parachute. Yes. Yeah, that kind of suggestion only. We realize we know only a little. And you will realize if you stay in you know only a little, you're going to know a lot. A lot's going to come through. Yeah. You're not going to know anything, but a lot's going to come through. Seriously, I feel. And if you're into other like Buddhism and stuff, in Zen, one of the highest forms of mind is don't know. Yeah. You don't know what's actually going on. So you have to find out. So it keeps you in a present alert condition instead of living from the past, thinking you know everything before anything happens. Yeah. It's just like being alive or living a narrative of being alive. They're quite different feelings. So God will instantly, wow, this is incredible, really, this one. So our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. So that's sort of like being convinced, this realizing you know only a little opens you up to what? God will constantly reveal more to you and to us. Wow. Constantly means like all the time, yes? It's not like just when you're at the meeting or if you hit 5 years of sobriety, then you get a big download. It's basically like a river flowing. Yeah. It doesn't stop. It just keeps flowing. Yeah. So it's not like the Colorado River doesn't go one block and then stops and then starts rivering, Yeah. So God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. If you keep asking that, you're going to be in the habit of it. You're not going to have to ask anymore. Yeah. That's just the attitude now you're living. You're not doing it you're not going one way and you're trying to teach yourself to go the other way. You're going the other way now. We're in perhaps the better way. Yeah. And so you do this stuff in the beginning to get into the habit of being sober. Yeah. But the point is the habit of being sober. Yeah. I don't count how many days I've said this in a row. Yeah. It's not sort of like that. It's not like a race or a competition. We're looking for an effect. You may not know it because we don't know. We know a little, but you'll know it when it happens. Yeah. And so your attitude would be like, in the morning, I look at what I can do each day for me, it's the dog first, obviously, in my house. Because it's dropping the ball wherever I am, telling me what I'm going to do. But first, it's the dog. I got to take it out. So ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. Now, your morning meditation may just be a condition you're in, like being awake. Yeah. You may not have to sit and go into some zone to get some. You'll be the downloads are going to be mobile. Yeah. You don't have to go to a certain place at a certain time. You may, and you can get a habit of that, but to limit it to that certain time and certain place that's I think quite unnecessary. You get to realize that this higher power is always available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary. Yeah. So basically, you're in a state of full access. Your head just doesn't think so and doesn't want that to be true, but you are. Yeah. All right. So the answers will come. So you ask, can do each day for the man who is still sick. You may be that person, remember. It's not like you're the only well one. You're also sick. Yeah. This isn't like it's the sick healing the sick, because it isn't the sick healing the sick. Something's coming through us. Yeah. Yeah. If your own house is in order. So the answer will come through if you're somewhat clear. Like if you're completely determined by the past and the future, you may not miss the moment message. Yeah. Yeah. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. I don't believe that. I believe you can transmit something you don't have. If you're willing to give it, you'll have it. If you're willing to give it away, you're going to have it. Yeah. That's my experience. True, completely my experience. I was not equipped to be the deliverer of this message. Most of the times the message was delivered through me. I was not equipped. I had other things on my mind or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Yes, the message wasn't based on my condition. Yeah. And I've realized that early, very much. I was convinced that early. My condition isn't what allows this message to come through. It's my willingness. Yeah. It's my loss of interest in me as the gatekeeper, which allows the traffic to go freely. Yes. Yeah. So I'm not a believer in that statement. So, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. Yeah. I feel in time, that side of the relationship is totally chill, totally okay. It's us that have all the requirements. Yeah. And I think this is the bondage of self, where we bound ourselves to having to be in a certain condition to let the light in or to let the light out that we are. I believe if you lose interest in these opinions and requirements, you'll see it's flowing quite freely. Yeah. That's just been my experience with it. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God. See, so when I hear this, I believe yourself is foreign to you. So I believe you can abandon what's foreign to you to that higher power. I don't see yourself abandoning you. You'll still be there. I believe you can abandon something that's not you. Just like we use the example all the time. When we were running around San Francisco getting loaded, we'd have like a beater car, like an Oldsmobile Cutlass. We bought it for like $50, and we'd be driving and we'd run into a tree, and we'd just get out and walk away. We'd abandon that car. Yeah. They didn't have the like computerized DMV. So we just fucking left, walked away, and found another beater. Yeah. It was easy to abandon it because it isn't me. Yeah. When the cops came and I said, I've abandoned myself, they'd arrest me because I'd still be there. Yeah. So I believe I like to look at when it says abandon yourself. Yeah. In other words, the act of being identified with what has defeated us. I'm going to abandon that. Yes, for sure. Once I start getting the power coming into my life, one of the first things to do is I want to surrender self. Big time. A big freaking time. So abandon yourself to God as you understand God, and abandon yourself to God as you understand self, that it's foreign to you, and you can abandon it to God. Yeah. Get a clearer understanding about self, and you'll have a much more revelatory understanding of the higher power. I completely believe it. Yeah. Remember when you had a God of self view, it was like getting a parking space in front of the meeting. You would think, oh, wow, God's working in my life, or maybe getting a date or something. Yeah, that was the God of self. Yeah, it was so small. I mean, when it could do so much, you were demanding so little, Oh, I got a parking space. Great. Yeah, it was, So abandon yourself to God as you understand God. And abandon self to God as you understand self. It's not you. Allow your faults. Oh, what is it? Admit your faults to Him and admit self's faults to Him. Yeah. Admit your faults and admit self's faults. And maybe there's a difference between your faults and self faults. And I humbly believe this, that a lot of your faults are self's faults. I truly believe it. What you be calling your hangups are really a manufactured hangup by and reinforced by something foreign to us. I really believe we've been taken over. And for some of us, we were being used for transportation, basically. Yeah. This thing was having a field day because every time when the shit hit the fan, we got pegged for it, We're all giving great glory to God now that we're sober, but we're not giving any accountability to the lower God that got us in all these fucking jams. Yeah. We take all those raps, all those prison terms we take. Yeah. It's insane to me. So abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit. The fellowship of the Spirit. And you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and bring you and keep you until then. It sure sounds like it's like an armistice day where that which has the one army is surrendering. So self is surrendering. Actually, it can't surrender. So we're basically we're just pronouncing our own liberation from self. Yes. Yeah. So when it says self-imposed calamities, I don't believe I'm the one imposing the calamity. I think something foreign is imposing the calamity. When I hear we made decisions based on self, I don't think they're my decisions. I don't. I think they're self's decisions. Yeah. And I think a lot of my behaviors were self's behaviors. Yeah. And I think it's time for like a real reckoning and to look at the books and see what was truly accountable for our defeat. And in that atmosphere of defeat, we went to a place of incomprehensible. In other words, we couldn't understand how this is happening. Pitiful, demoralizing condition. We were in a spiritless servility, as it says in the object, on page 53. Spiritless servility. When we were in a community of spirit now, we were in a spiritless servility. To what? Servility is to be a slave for, yes? So what were we a slave for? Self. And it was a spiritless servility. Self, the problem resides in the mental, in the mind. It's not of spirit. Yes? So we were in a spiritless servility. Now we're in a spiritual fellowship. That is an incredibly different condition, yes? One spiritless, the other is completely based on spirit. Where go thee, my friend? Is there a trusting the finite self? And especially trusting the finite self about trusting the infinite? Tell the truth and see what's going on. Because you can try to be free, but if you're trying to be free as self, that is a form of bondage of self. Yeah. Every time I shot coke, I was trying to be free as self. Seriously. To me, shooting coke was a religion. It was like taking us like the Eucharist. It was like a sacrament. I truly believed I could transcend all the shit I thought I was in. Yeah. But what I was really doing was reinforcing the defeat of self by trying to get out of self as self. I had no fucking clue. Yeah. To the point where I was actually I manufactured overdoses. Yeah. Unfortunately for me, if you're on so much coke, you can't shoot yourself up with it because your hands are shaking too much. So you'd have to have someone else put it in, and those other people at that moment had more wisdom than you, and they wouldn't push the whole shot in. They would stop halfway because they knew that you were going to get killed if he put that whole shot in, which is what I wanted. But I couldn't do it because my hands were shaking too much. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, that is going to great lengths, incomprehensible demoralization. You don't think we've been ridden by something that's foreign to us? People say it's a demonic possession, a satanic intelligence. They're pointing out something. We use the parasitical idea because just an image that what has defeated you is foreign to you. How are you going to be free from it other than that? Yes? If the active problem is the act of being identified as that which has defeated you, therefore you don't know you are the defeater and the defeated. Literally. Yeah? You're the defeated, praying to have the defeat lesson, and you are the defeater at the same time. You're in the act of being identified as that which has defeated you. Yes? This is incredibly confusing. And it will sign up with admitting that self has defeated you as self, and it will continue the defeat. Yeah. And it can wait. I mean, I've watched a lot of people go out around 20 years, and they were the most surprised people of all. They could not believe it when they were sitting in another meeting and they had an urge to get loaded. It had been relieved of them for years and years. And now they were sitting there and all they were thinking about was getting loaded. What an insane comeback, eh? Well, this is all I can offer, really. This is because I haven't heard this view in meetings. I wish someone else would have talked about it completely. Yeah. So then I could get mad at him. But I didn't hear it. And I was in a very enthusiastic community, San Francisco. We had about 600 meetings a week. And everyone would pass on to the next sponsee that these are your resentments, fear, harm, and done to others. And I don't believe that. Yeah. So here we go. Anyone, Martin?
Hey, Paul,
No.
this is Kerry. I just want to say something real quick. So I apologize. I dropped the ball on sending out the sign up. Like I usually put people's name and who's leading. And I would like to turn that over to Martin or Kathleen if possible. You guys interested? Which one? Raise your hand. Martin?
Yeah, I can
You're
take
young.
it.
You have the technology, the talent. I have faith.
No,
Thank you, Martin. All right,
no
brother.
worries.
Thank you.
Gary. Go home and do 30 mea culpas.
Commitments.
All right. All right, anyone?
No hands up.
Do you believe that some things that at times, even when you were young, some wisdom would come through you that obviously wasn't yours? Don't you feel like if you're willing to be used, you'll be used? Yeah, that's how I feel with the spiritual condition. Yeah. Anyone? Nothing?
We got a hand from Rico.
Oh, Rico, come on in, my friend.
What's up, Paul? Good evening, family, friends. Welcome, newcomers. My name is Rico Cruz, and I'm glad you allowed me to be here with you today. I send you love and life from my heart to yours. Paul, I thought maybe you would stop a little bit on, unless I missed it. It says our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly reveal more to you and to us. In that segment right there, it says that next it says, ask him in your morning meditation, but God will constantly reveal more to us. Is that only when I'm awake or always?
Well, when you're awake, you'll notice it. When you're asleep, you won't notice it. Yeah. So it's constantly downloading, but you won't notice it because you're listening to another download, the head. Yeah. But I believe we're constantly, I don't believe downloads are an event, they're streams, so to speak. Yes. Sure, you're in a stream of knowledge and you can be awake to that or not be awake to that. If another stream is attracting your attention more, it will be as if the other stream isn't going on, but it's always going on. Yes. That's my feeling. Yeah. So that's why I don't think they just flippantly pick that word constantly. You know, they put that there to constantly reveal to you and us. Yeah, I believe constantly means at all times. That doesn't, it's sort of like it's a 24-hour restaurant. Am I eating 24 hours? No, but I could eat 24 hours. Yeah. Yeah. But again, this is about loss of interest. When we're really interested in the idea of self, we become seemingly unaware of the unsuspected inner resource. Yeah. And the whole program literally is about losing interest in self and getting around the dilemma of self trying to lose interest in self, which would be more interest in self. Yeah. So we just do shit that we would never make up a program like AA, would you? No. I mean, your third step would be an incredible festival with hopeful future girlfriends and previous girlfriends seeing your hair blowing on the cliff and you're surrendering, not like going home and writing about shit, so we wouldn't have come up with these 12 steps if we were, yeah. So yeah, I feel downloads are a little bit of the stream gets diverted into you, but it's always streaming. Yeah. 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 So
Thank you, Paul.
yeah, it's just my experience with it. Yeah. I don't believe I get a package download that's wrapped and yeah. It's just I think that the water gets diverted, the download gets diverted to whoever it is that's gets to be used. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the stuff I share here was for me? Obviously not. Yeah, it was for me, but it was for us. And so basically, it's not getting stored where I am. I'm more like empty in a way, and then it just comes. Yeah. and nothing, there's no dam. It doesn't close and catch the water. It just, because I know it's infinitely sourced. Yeah. There's no need to dam it or try to catch it or direct it or divert it. Yes. Yeah. I think you'll come to that understanding easily if you stick around. Yeah. So I'm empty of spiritual content, literally. Just an old dude now. Get up. I'm like the fourth person on the totem pole in my house. There's the dogs first, then Amelia, then the cat, and then me. It's a good position. Their demands aren't too much. It's fine. Yeah, so spiritual wealth isn't hoarding. Yeah, that's not spiritual wealth. It's not about hoarding and having a big account. It's about, yes, it's about flow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right, anyone else? Thank you, Rico.
Question from Al.
Oh, I have to make it in the form of a question. Alan Alcoholic, why is it, I've asked Paul this several times, can I lock it down? And every time without hesitation, Paul's answered, no, you can't lock it down. I can only experience it in the moment I'm in. I think I said Alan Alcoholic. If I didn't, there it is. So definitely a resentment snuck under my skin and it's stuck in there. And this guy and me and my disease is just having a party because I am not feeling like, what is it? My relationship with him, the big H him is right. And yesterday, it's funny, you just told somebody 20 mea culpas. I got assigned 100. This is a sick man prayer. I got 100 of those from my other old timer because sometimes I am sick. And sometimes when the pupil is ready, when the teacher is ready, the pupil, me, will dilate. I yin and yang back and forth from the teacher to the students. And sometimes it's more important for me to, Mark 10 is liking the humor here. Sometimes I need to be the student. I don't want to be, but I need to be. And it's just.
Al, it's not you in a sense that's doing stuff. And it's not you that reacts to the doing of stuff. Yeah. The spirit doesn't, I don't know. You know how, a hammer will see everything as a nail. Yes. So us as identified as a thing, we see everything from a thing point of view. This is why knowing but a little is the best knowledge, because revelation has to be shown to you, because the way we think and the way we perceive is a little bit slanted. Yeah. And so you don't have the resentment. The resentment is having you in a sense. Yeah. Yeah. So, I have this resentment and the other guy isn't getting hurt by it at all. It's just you in a sense, or being defined by it. Yeah. So just and it's not you that's going to give up the resentment. Yeah. It's just resentment and giving up resentment. Yeah. And if you're in the habit of giving up resentment, it can't lock in and you don't do anything and it passes. Yeah. And for all intents and purposes, the world hasn't heard one murmur of it. Yeah. It didn't do anything. There's no scars left and anything like that. And again, that access is always available at all times. We're making up requirements, and that which is making up requirements isn't even us. Yeah. If you ever read the prodigal son in the New Testament, I don't know if I've changed it or not. Probably I did. But how I understood it when I read it was there's this a story about a guy who's went off the rails. He had a good situation, had a loving family and stuff, but he just started to go out and he got really whacked, and he couldn't forgive himself, literally, for fucking everything up. So he was living like sleeping in a pigsty, fighting the pigs for a cob of corn and stuff. And then it dawned on him, he just gave up the whole, judge, jury, sentencer, that whole fucking playing God. And at the moment he did, the whole story just stops right there. And the next sentence is, he meets his father on the road. His father has some nice clothes, a big ring, gives him a big hug and says, "The feast is ready. Let's go home." It's not like any atonement or mea culpas. Yeah. He just admitted something finally. And then all that he was thinking was pushed aside, and he was exiled from his own head playing God, was readily available, as had always been. His father didn't change his opinion of his son. He was there, put the robe on, gave him a hug, said, "Let's go eat." Yeah. He wasn't like, "Now tell me," no, it was him that had exiled himself in the fucking pigsty. And I don't believe it was him. I believed that which he was listening to, the idea of self, had exiled him into the pigsty. Yeah. And it was a lose-lose, because he would have to change the unforgivable, and he was powerless to do that. So he was fucked, yeah, to live in a pigsty from listening to that which was playing God. But when he fucking surrendered that and the God act really appeared, he was readily fucking received with no fucking charges or questions or to have to answer. Yes? Haven't you felt that at times? All your attempts to be good was an attempt really not to be bad. And you just fucking give up the ghost. Yes. And that which you think you have to merit or acquire is readily available. And it has been readily available, and it will be readily available. You're the one that's saying no. And I don't believe it's you that's saying no. I don't. I really think the playing God is insidious. We may think we know what playing God is. It's got a lot of tentacles. Yeah. It's got a lot of suckers sucking life out of us. And I swear people are trying to tithe fucking shit to get to the God of the head, to get a little break for a few minutes. Yeah. I can feel it to this day. When I do something quote unquote good, I feel better physically. Yeah. Now, could you imagine all the feelings of not being good that's being oppressed here by the head? Yeah. Yeah. I have to actually get out of it to feel better. I rather see I'm not in it and have that feeling better become the basis of my life, and then go through the days of what happens during the day. Yes? Sometimes you contract, sometimes you expand, but basically my underlying condition is fucking pretty good. Yes? Yeah. I don't get a message, all right, I have to do this amount, do that, go there. I don't get a list of what to do from the higher power. I really don't. Yeah? I'm making up all the lists. What is that but playing God? And what does it say in our book? You got to quit playing God. It doesn't work. Have you ever tried to quit playing God as that which is playing God? It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Quit playing God the playing God is available. You just don't fucking play it. Yeah. I hear the head talking just like it used to, but I'm not ending up where it directed me to go. That's the difference. Yeah. And because it's not powerful in a sense, I can make a comedy show out of it, which is awesome. It never fails to not understand self can't get out of self. It's constantly working on a new plan of how to get out of self. You can't do it. I mean, I took it one way pretty fucking far, and I realized it didn't work that way. It just wants me to tell you there's a way it does work, and I've tried some, and they all end up as failure, which is the greatest success, really. Yeah, I don't have to try 40 things. I tried about 7 things, and they all failed. And now I have a clear understanding that the next 800 things will probably do the same thing. Yeah, so I'm done with it. And perhaps there's a better way. Yes, trusting the infinite. I mean, all that I think I have to attain or win is already a given. Yes. And you don't hate yourself. What hates you is not you. What is your own worst enemy is not you. It's something foreign to us. Yes. That is some level when people say to me, I hate myself. That's insane. That is an insane condition. Yeah. What are you going to do with that? Which one are you going to talk to? The one who's hated or the one who's hating? I mean, it's like they're in cahoots. Yes. Yeah. I found a way out of this conundrum and this maze. And that way out was seeing that which has defeated me as foreign to me. Yeah. And then finding out through that constantly downloading of the higher power that my nature is of spirit, not of mental or physical. Yes. Constant downloads, implying that, inferring that, making it super obvious has worked in a sense, where I do not believe my nature is of flesh and of head. I don't. Yeah. I believe the spirit is the high point of the hierarchy, not the unsuspected resource, but the all illuminating light. Yes. Allows me to make it through a day here. I don't believe it's unique. I believe it can do the same for all of us. Yeah. There's a distinct difference in possibility in recovery. Trusting finite self, trusting the infinite. That's it. Yeah. I would learn about what it is to be in trusting finite self. I would. And then find out what it's like to be directed by the infinite. Yeah. I would really, really look at what you're not and study that, and you'll find out what you are. You don't have to study what you are. You'll find out what you are by studying what you're not, literally. That's my humble suggestion. Yeah, so we don't just nonchalantly keep claiming to be the owner of shit we don't have anything to do with. Seriously. When people, oh, I have the flu. No, the flu has you. Yeah. Yeah. Did you go shopping? Oh, I want to have a flu this week. No. A lot of uninvited guests take us over. They do. Sinus infections show up. All this shit happens. Oh, yes. I called Sinus Central last week. I forgot. Yeah, send me a fucking nasty infection. Yeah, I want to have one. It's been a long time. I miss it. Yes. Oh, I have this, I have that. You're fucking under a huge delusion that you have a lot to say about shit you have nothing to say about. Come on, snap out of it. Literally. I hate myself. Come on. I've worked so hard at it, man, and I finally arrived. I hate myself. I hate myself so thoroughly. Fucking great. Yes. I don't believe you are the director. I believe we're in the cast of being directed. I do. I do not believe we are the driver, no matter how much this society tries to tell us that. I believe we're driven. Yeah. Now, to me, if that's the case, it's important what's driving you. It is. It's very important, because how it goes is not based on the driven, it's based on the driver. Yeah. We have two options here. One of them is the fallback mechanism, which is reliance on self. And now the option is to trust the infinite. Yeah. And this program will produce a spiritual awakening. It will. Yeah. And it will start that whole event with the beginning, at the beginning, which is a loss of interest in self. Yeah. And now you will find out what you are instead of listening about what you are already. You will find out what you are, and you'll be surprised a lot. Yeah. Even though you're an asshole in a lot of ways, you're not an asshole, which is great. Does assholeness have you at times? Yes, but you're not an asshole. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. Isn't it? A lot of us are sober. Where's the problem? During your day. Yes. Where's the discomfort being familiarized? Where's the irritability and restless being stoked? It's in the head. Yeah. So we used to say you drop an alcoholic into heaven, it would be hell in a day. That's this way it goes. Yeah. Literally. So, yeah. Hmm. All right. Anyone? No?
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Oh, so yeah, Al. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, I can do.
Go ahead, Tom.
Can't hear you, Tom.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, my name is Tom L. This is the first time I've spoke, so I'm a little bit nervous, but a good friend of mine, Sean D, out here in Tacoma, Washington, introduced me to you, Paul, and it's just been a huge impact. It's profound. I was about a year sober and really struggling. I was convinced to do the step 4, and I did. I got some relief from that, but I was still on a bus that was not me driving, I could tell. And so I lived this really irritable restlessness and discontented existence. Fortunately, I was able to come across a sponsor who had pointed me. We read Michael Singer's Untethered Soul, and I'd been watching you for about a year. But I keep coming back to you. The way you deliver the message, to me, it's so profound, and that it just cuts off the head of the snake. And I went in this deep dive of reading everything I possibly could, Hong Po, and even grabbed A Course in Miracles, but it comes back to this realization of what I'm not. And for me, I'd been reading for about a year, and I was sitting on my porch just outside here looking at the bay. I live on Commencement Bay. And I was just struck one day. It was profound. I could see what I'm not. And everything I thought I was not. And the relief I get is just immense. I can pause. I know you talked about your story in overthinking and just being things were so profound, and someone would say something to me and I'd go home and think about it as well for about 5 or 6 hours. And I did that until I was 50 years old when I came into the program. I have 3.5 years of sobriety, and I was a miserable dry drunk for the first 2 years until I was exposed to this spiritual aspect that I just refused to look at. I lived in the head, only the head. I just wanted to say those things. I know I'm not the driver. There's a sense of relief I get. It's just a constant awareness of what I'm not. I love the parasite analogy. It gives me relief as an alcoholic, but I needed that relief sober when I lived in this constant state of irritability, living out of the head, all the suggestions of all the things that just weren't the way I wanted them to be. And when I get in a place now that's dark, and I've kind of always suffered with a depression thing. I call it, but I don't like to give it a big name. Suicidal thoughts came up in my 30s as things were so profound. It was just so much for the self, the small self to try to sort and make right. For me, that relief came in sobriety through your message, that I'm not that. And once I just saw it one day. I'm not that. And so outwardly to the world, I still function as Tom, this spaz, hyperactive. I have several businesses, blah, 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 but I could never get relief from self because it just wouldn't stop. And it still doesn't stop. But now I know that's not me. And I know that because you talked about in one reading, I think I read a couple of your books. They're fantastic. Escape to Nowhere and Having Never Left. Just amazing, sharp pointers. It just occurred. And I want to give that away so much. I've had a little struggle with that. The ego, wanting others to see, but it's the seeing I had to have for being at those depths. And now when I get the deep, dark moments that come maybe once every 2 or 3 months, ultimately I get relief from that, because I know it's not me. It's not who I am. It's the small self. It's this constant need to modify, change, see the world how Tom sees it instead of the way it is. So I just wanted to thank you for your message. I don't hear, there's a couple guys in our programs out here in the Northwest that know Paul Hedderman, and I don't hear that message. And for me, I could never get out of self. I tried for years and ended up a miserable person on the inside. And today, yeah, life is still happening. Yeah, like a verb. I love that. It's still happening, but I'm in it, man. And grateful to have gone to those depths to see what I'm not. When I could see what I'm not, I could freaking see what I am. And it's been there all along. I just know it. I would wake up as a child and I didn't have to look in the mirror. I was there. That feeling that I was there, it's it. That for me was all the convincing I need. I always knew I was there. And then the voices would start in. And that went my ego. There went the small self. It's nonstop. It's always there. It won't ever stop. But I get relief from that, Paul. I just wanted to share my gratitude. I'd love to, I was reluctant to share something I didn't think I had. But I'm happy to share this message too, because I see, self cannot get out of self. It will try, it will convince, it will play God. I will claim I have done something, right? The claiming I have done something, I haven't done shit. I just listened and something happened. And in a moment, looking at the bay one day, I don't know, the world just became a 360-degree sphere to me instead of looking through my narrow little glass that I used to see the world, which was basically a myopic telescope. And then I had this wide open view, but it wasn't Tom, the ego. It was what I believe has always been there. And so I just really love I get a great peace and serenity from knowing what I'm not. And I have to practice every single day because ego takes over and says, look what I've done. I see it now. And I laugh at that in a way because Tom doesn't see shit. He will keep going on trying to fix everything around him, arrange the play, blah, blah, blah. And for me, I absolutely have a new feeling. And I just wanted to thank you for that, Paul. I look forward to watching you and hanging out someday.
Oh, great. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a big check for that. Yes. That was good.
You saved my ass, man. And Sean D and I talk a lot daily about this self coming up, and we fucking laugh at it because there goes the head. Yeah. And I didn't do shit, but yet things have changed for me drastically. But it's daily, man. It's daily. I'm that. I'm ego daily. But I get relief. That's all. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, very much.
Awesome.
Yes.
Profound. Yeah, man.
All right. Well, you want to say goodbye? Start saying goodbye.
There's a hand up from Mike. I don't know if you want to do it.
Let's go to Mike. Yeah, go to Mike. Come on in, Mike. Can't hear you yet.
Oh, she gave me the high sign. Thanks, Paul, as always. I was thinking about like what you were saying about what we think we always have, right? And as a kid, I was so self-conscious because I lived in a very white area. I'm white. I'm just saying this was like Aryan white-ish.
Right.
I had like this. And when I kind of reached puberty, I got this big kinky, like Jewish Jewfro, they called it when I was growing up. And my nose was pretty big. And that's all I saw is me, is the hair and the nose walking down the street all the time, right? And I'd hear about it, big nose, Jewfro, whatever. And I just remember being so dominated by that. And that bled into that same thing bled into every area of my life of what I thought I had and who I thought I was and what I thought I owned. So this path of relinquishment has been such an incredible journey to freedom, to know that I'm not, my nose, not my kinky hair. And that relinquishment, I had no idea had anything to do with resentment. It's just weird because that same thing that was focused on that is the same thing that's focused on the resentment, is the same thing that's focused on sentimentality and time travel. And when this was happening then, my life was better. And maybe in the future, I can replicate what it was that was happening then in order to get back to that place of how I thought I was happier in that place. So this daily reprieve is happening in spite of the self.
Yes.
That's really what's weird about this. In spite of the self, like I didn't know any of this, man. This has been an awakening, and I understand what Al's saying, but those last for about, I don't know, 30 minutes for me now. I don't roll with that kind of resentment. It's not that I don't roll. It's just not the loss of interest has occurred without me being a part of the loss of interest. And that's what just stifles my mind. And that I do believe is what this spiritual awakening is about. It's happening in spite of the self. Or I'm learning and I don't even know I'm learning, as our friend Kathleen says, which is my favorite. And that's just from hanging out with you guys, man. There's a slow trickle into the matrix, and I get a vision. I get a little bit of a glimpse of the fourth dimension instead of being stuck down here. There was a whole area I stayed out of for a long time. It's kind of like a different version of Little Italy, Paul, but there's a group that has kind of taken over the town, and it's a lot of white collar crime. And my phone was hacked when I was over in that area once, and it felt kind of bullyish and weird. And I stayed out of that area and I was resentful. And I had to go back to that area to do something the other day. And I was like, oh, wait, this area, no, I don't want to be here. And I was like, wait, that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. And now I find myself back in an area that I swore I was never going to travel back to again, and actually enjoying it and being around people that I don't know, I enjoy. I'm not resentful at a whole fucking town. Let's just put it that way. It's like, it's weird. Oh, I gotta stay away from the west side. I gotta stay away from Glendale's the name of the town I'm talking about over here. But like, I have a very firm, fixed idea of what I need to stay away from in order to be free. And that is the bondage to self.
It can be, yes.
Can be.
It
That
can.
doesn't mean I have to force myself to go somewhere out of thinking I'm spiritual either.
You know,
Yeah. So this
remember,
relinquishment is amazing.
like Saint
Go ahead.
Francis said, self-forgetting, it's
Why do you think I went to Assisi?
by self-forgetting where you're reborn. Now, obviously, self can't forget itself.
Right.
That would be remembering self. So it's self-forgetting. And like, this is what Kathleen, I think, was implying. You're learning without knowing you're learning. Yeah, that which relies on constantly being remembered can't remember the forgetting of self. That's part of what gets lost, is that constant remembering of shit.
Right.
Forgetting of self is happening unbeknownst, or maybe you're aware of it, but it doesn't matter. It's happening. We're in a process, and recovery progresses, just like they say the disease progresses, recovery progresses. And a large part of your role is you put yourself, or life puts yourself into this process, just stay in the process, and it's doing its thing. And in one of those things is it's producing a self-forgetting. Yeah. And in that self-forgetting, we're reborn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Therefore, when you're reborn, that place you would never go into again gets reborn, and you can go there or whatever. Things happen. So, yeah, we're under something. We're under the influence of something, just like when we were under the influence of alcoholism and drinking and using. We're also now under the influence of something 24/7. That's changing how we see things. Because it's clear. It doesn't try to change the things we see. It changes how we see things. Yeah, it's much more efficient than trying to change the things we see. That's what the head does. It tries to manage and control, but this is different. It has a different idea, which is it changes you. Yeah, your ideas and opinions about things change. Yes. Yeah. So it's beautiful. It's a nice process. I mean, I'm totally into it, being under it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just doing its thing. And as we get done to by it, we can observe stuff, and then we'll see expressions coming through us that were different than the old ones we had. And yeah, you may greet the day with a smile and say, instead of a cynical sneer, or you can have a cynical sneer and it'll be made into a comedy routine. You know, it's going to be put to a different use now. It's good. It's really cool. So yeah, man, we're all under this influence, man. Thank you for the shares today, Tom and Mike, and yeah. You found something that works. Just let it work. Yeah, your job isn't to work it. Your job is to let it work. It's a very passive role in a sense. Yeah. Something is happening, and let it, and just keep your fingers out of it, so to speak, if you can. Yeah. Yeah. So hey, thanks for it's like being on a big liner, cruise liner. We just heard from Mike and Tom. Yeah, the cruise is going pretty well. Yes, there we go. All right, well, I think I'll start saying goodbye, eh? No more questions, right? Shares. All right. Martin, thank you. Thank you once again for all the service. There's not much of a movement in Zen Bitch Slap. We're not going anywhere, I don't think, for a little while. So yeah, it's the same schedule. Axel, nice to see you there. Kathleen, Pennsylvania, learning. I caught Kathleen learning. She didn't know she was learning. Yeah. Kathy in Cleveland, Vlad, Portugal. Mickey, our eternal greeter. Joseph C, looking pretty good there. Terry S, Marl, Walter. Say hello to the person that was passing in the background. Roman Mueller. Maria, nice to see you, Maria. Yep. Kerry, as always. Yep. Stephen Mack. Rico. Jeffrey in Seattle, delivering eyes and ears. Very cool. Kurt Zimmerman, as always, a good friend down in Redondo. Nice to see you, Kurt. Say hello to Linda and everyone else. Yeah. Tom L, thank you so much, Tom. I'm happy yeah, you caught the bug. Yeah, that's good. Al, there he is. Our man in Vegas. Yes, it's a lonely outpost, but Al serves it well. Yeah, someone's got to do it. Yeah, Al. Yeah. Rick Rowe in Toronto. Eric down in Vista. Annette. Oh, by the way, we have another meeting today at 4:30 Pacific time. Same Zoom, no password. It'll be open probably a little before 4:30. All right, if you want to join us. Annette down there, nice to see you. I don't know, I can't seem to get to the other page, but hey, thank you so much. Hey, it's a pleasure sitting with each other. The loving something is expressing itself through our group conscience, eh? Yeah.
Thanks.
Very-
Thanks for the cruise line.
Yes. See you guys. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Paul.
Carnival Cruise Line.
Love and service. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Paul.